Hey everybody, Jake Thurm here. The Valspar Championship is over, and that is to the delight of many of the PGA Tour players. You saw a lot of club throwing, even saw some abuse taken out on a sprinkler. It is one of the most challenging venues that they'll play all year for a basic, standard PGA Tour event, non-major. One of the hardest venues that they'll play all year. And go figure, the guy that's on 3 missed cuts and says he has no idea where his golf ball is going and that his swing doesn't feel well is the guy that ends up winning, and that's Viktor Hovland. This was taken this week from Valspar, just outside of Tampa. Let's get into it. It is a driver from the face on. If you guys have played down at Innisbrook, you know that driving is a premium. It is a ball striker's golf course, and despite what Viktor Hovland thinks about his ball striking, it was good enough to get it done this week. So, classic setup here, so much to take away. He does have some very unique things that he does. A lot of you golf nerds out there know about his very low closure rate through impact when he's playing his best. But a lot of good things to take away for the average player as well with the setup. So I see a lot of people that try to push their hips forward and tilt their upper body back. I'm not saying that's a terrible thing for a beginning level player as a way of getting them to learn how to swing from the inside. All I'm saying is in 3D, most of the best drivers I've seen are relatively level with their pelvis or their belt line, and the center of their pelvis is shifted just a smidgen back with the driver, which is what you see. You can still tilt back, as Viktor is showing you, without pushing your pelvis forward, okay? So I see a lot of people that kind of bump their hips forward and touch their right knee. Don't mind the touching of the right knee to get that axis tilt away, which I do think is important for a driver. I call it set up to hit up. Don't see too many guys hitting down on their drivers, and if so, they would be probably more of the levelish variety, not of the hit down at a variety. We're not even making golf clubs to be hit down on. So I like this. I like this little shifted back. I like the level-ish pelvis, and I like to tilt it away. Obviously, the ball is more forward in his stance. Not that the camera is completely at a 90-degree angle. I think you would find this to be probably just inside his right or his lead heel. Okay, so from that, we've got a stance width that is probably the insides of the feet, just barely on the outsides of his shoulder. I would say that's industry standard as well. Let's take him into his backswing and see what we see. His club will disappear a little bit behind the golf bag here, but still, again, so much to see. Hard to find a great driver of the golf ball, and when Viktor's on, he's just a great ball striker in general. You guys know about his kind of pump drill driver swing. It's amazing how far he can hit it when he does that. You've even seen a long driver by the name of Seb Waddle that does the same thing. But hard to find a driver of the golf ball, an elite driver that doesn't kind of turn behind the ball. Now, keep in mind, he was already a little bit behind the ball with his upper body to start. Does he go further back? With his upper body, I would say that he does. Now, you can see that his trail hip is turned behind him. His right pocket is behind him. So he's getting a pretty full rotation of the pelvis right there. And you can see his upper body has shifted back. So the center of his rib cage is shifted back probably a couple inches. So this is loaded up behind the golf ball. Okay. Again, if we're talking center of pressure, my guess would be probably somewhere in that 90% range at some point before top of backswing into the trail side with the driver. Again, industry standard. So many unique things that Viktor does, but so far, very textbook things for great driving, powerful driving. You can see the change of knee flex. You can see how the ankles are working right there, which allows for, again, the pelvis to rotate fully. Interesting thing, so many of the long drivers do this. When he transitions, so look where his foot is pointing. I'm going to talk lead foot here. His foot is pointing kind of outward, goes to the top, and then it kind of replants, and now it is pointed at least a little bit more square or perpendicular to the target line than it was at address. So his heel obviously comes up. The pressure is in his toe at the top. And then when he replants the lead heel. And now that has changed his lead foot position. I can't tell you how much time I spent trying to keep my lead foot so still, thinking that was the key to consistency, and actually it probably robbed me of the ability to create speed. I promise you that the ground is torn up underneath these great, powerful players' lead foot, and here's a big reason why. Again, flared out at address, replanted squared up so he feels like he has something to hit against. So we're going to put his lines back on them, right on his lead side of his head right there. Again, turn behind the ball, replant, squared up, hit against. So he is shifting his pressure forward. There is no doubt about that. And very early, I would say the majority of the pressure on his lead side is right here at lead arm parallel or shaft vertical, especially with that more squared up lead side. Now he feels like he has something to hit into, but his mass, the majority of his mass will stay behind the golf ball. If we're talking about especially balls that are teed up, or we're talking about longer clubs that we need to hit as high and as far as possible, you want to keep the majority of your mass, probably about 3/4 of your mass, behind the golf ball until contact. And certainly Viktor is showing that right here. Now, let's watch that lead foot. So when you see the foot, did you see it? We'll do it one more time. So remember, it was squared up from the top, squared up, planted, and then all of a sudden, right through impact, watch his lead foot there, airborne, okay? You have to slow it down to see it, but airborne, so that means the center of his pressure right through the impact interval shifted back to his trail foot, so probably 90% or so back on that trail side as his lead foot then changes position again. It's changed position a few times in the swing to accommodate what I call the running backwards move. In other words, that his lead side is going behind him now. The key to transmitting as much speed and energy into the club is to take all three forces, lateral, rotational, and reverse those as you're going vertical. Okay, so as he's pushing up from the ground, which he clearly is with his lead side, his mass is still behind the ball. It might be moving forward, but still behind the ball. The majority is he has stopped lateral motion early. He is rotated, and he is at max negative lateral to the target. In other words, he reversed those forces to transmit as much speed and energy out to the club head. And again, that's what's going to create more speed. If you want to create more speed, you have to create either more impulse or the same amount of force over a longer period of time. And you have to ramp up those forces and then send them in the opposite direction right before impact to transmit every bit out to the club head. You can see he finishes nice straight line here. That right shoulder might be in front of that lead side, but the feet have changed position. It's so interesting. If you're on a range at a PGA Tour tournament, you will see the ground way more torn up around their feet than it ever is around the ball. Obviously, we know if they're hitting irons or doing these banking strips, but their feet, especially their lead foot, is what is torquing the ground to create not only the lateral motion to the target early, the rotational motion, and then the vertical motion where they're pushing up and back. Do that just like Viktor Hovland, and you're going to have a lot more success, especially with driver. So many things that he does well. Turning behind the ball, turning his pelvis, turning his rib cage, right? Keeping his mass back as he gets his pressure forward, and then reversing those forces. Jake Thurm, we will see you on the next victory on the PGA Tour. See you soon.